Hey everyone, it's Mickey again. Today we'll talk about how to set up a self-managed team and how to manage a self-managed team. Talk about why it works and what to expect. Put simply, if we set up two groups, even made out of the same people, to perform a task that requires out-of-the-box thinking, and we manage one group in a traditional way, whereas the other group would be self-managed, the latter group would perform better. More so, it will perform better even if we pay the first group more money. This is the strange thing about how money works in these situations. We'll just talk about how to set up a self-managed group and what to expect. So what do we need? Well, we need an aim, something for the group to do. You need a group of people who are really passionate about this aim. And this is the tricky bit, because it doesn't really work well for objectives that people are not passionate about. So this is as much about picking our aims as it is about picking the people. And we're going to assume authority for this one, even though there are some organizational models where this kind of group can be jump-started without authority, ranging from the open source and community of interest, community of practice model, the Spotify model, the Valve model. We won't talk about them too much today. At least one of these people needs to have an idea of what it looks like when it's done right. At least one of these people needs to have some emotional intelligence, ideally more than one, because they're about to go deal with stuff that they're deeply passionate about. It also helps if at least one person in that group has some experience with techniques and practices that help groups form, things like how to write a social contract. So you put these people in a room, you ask them, you tell them why you brought them there, that this is the aim, and you would like to hear what they think can be done. And what you do next is possibly the most important thing. You need to walk out of the room. You need to walk out of the room because you represent authority. And what we're about to try and create is an autonomous self-managed group. You also need to walk out without leaving anyone explicitly in charge. Dan Pink has done some very good work on unpacking motivation. He has a very good TED Talk. I'll link it in the description below. And he identifies a few things. One of them is that money works weirdly when it comes to tasks that require out-of-the-box thinking. But what really motivates people is this trinity of autonomy, purpose, and mastery at their art. If you give people these three things, they will be motivated as hell. And what we just did with this group we set up, we've selected for purpose, we selected the people who care about our aim, and we selected for mastery. What we've done by walking out of the room, by leaving the room without any formal authority, is we have created a place where autonomy can now grow. Some time back, a researcher by the name of Bruce Tuckman, who was looking at group dynamics and had a knack for rhyming, identified that groups go through 4 stages as they grow: forming, storming, norming, and performing. Forming is when we meet each other, and maybe not for the first time, maybe we've already been working for the same company or the same broader team, but this is where we really find out where we stand on matters that we care deeply about. And the immediate step that quite often happens after the group forms is storming. That's when we start to rub up against each other in the wrong way, step on each other's toes, have differing ideas about where the group needs to go to achieve its aim. And because this is a loaded topic for everybody in that room, because this is something the team cares deeply about, because people also come with some attachment to their ideas, some friction starts to happen. People start stepping on each other, and you get bruised egos. You might even get to a point where somebody wants to throw in a towel and say, my way or the highway, I can't work with that team. The good news is that this is very common, and that this is not bad, and also that this is temporary. And this is where some people on the team with emotional intelligence see through the conflict and see the passion behind it and how to use that as a stepping stone to build better relationships and work together. So long as the team is working through it and building those relationships, this is a totally normal stage. The next stage that follows storming is norming. And this is where we learn how not to step on each other. And there's a bit of a lull, but not yet that pickup in performance. Is the fourth stage when we start taking advantage of each other's strengths. When we start realizing that let's have this person do this thing because they're really best at it. Let's work together, you and I, because together we can do more than the sum of our parts. And that's the performing stage where the really, really good work starts getting done. I work in several such groups, and recently one of them was tasked with setting up an event for 150 people. None of us are professional event people, yet we pulled off that event in a really, I believe, good way. People responded very well to it. The leadership team that created our task force, if you like, they brought together the team, they laid out the aim, they clearly said that we're driving, and they walked out. And I'd like to point out several things they really did right. The first one was not being intrusive. They asked when it would make sense for them to come and sync up with us to see how we're going. The second thing was that they really allowed us to adjust and tweak our aim. The aim was not set in stone for us. The third thing they did was offer help, but they didn't force this help. They asked if it would be appropriate, and in those places where we said, yes, we'd love that, they brought it in. This was help with resources, with networking. They got our CTO to come in and talk to us. They offered some experience and advice because they themselves run such events in the past and we did not. But they never pushed this advice. They offered it only when it was solicited. And the most important thing was they let the team make its own decisions. This autonomy brought back really good work. People really felt like the only thing stopping them from doing a really good job was themselves and how good we can work together as a team. For me, at least, this represents the kind of environment where humans do their best work. Anyway, it's just a thought. I'll see you next time.